It's interesting to do a study of Paul's writings, and you will find him acknowledging his weaknesses more and more as his ministry gets older and older. Interesting. He begins to get wiser. And the closer we get to the Lord, the more we realize how far away we still are from Him. David says, I've walked in my integrity. I've been real with you, Lord. I've been real with you. And that's what God calls of us. In 1 John, John tells us, hey, look, if you say that you love the Lord, if you say that you're following Him, but you walk in darkness, well, forget it, man, you're a liar. But if you walk in the light as He is in the light, well, there, you're in a good shape. The blood of Christ cleanses you. You're good. If you say that you do this, but you don't, you're a liar, he says. Be real with God. Be real. We can't hide anything from Him. We can't come and impress Him, get all dressed up, get a nice sacrifice to bring before Him and say, here it is. Aren't you impressed? No, He isn't. It's like the old story. You remember the old kid's story? The Emperor's New Clothes? Do you remember that one? Where the guys, get the emperor to believe that they've got this special thread where they can make this special clothing that only really smart and important people can see. And if you can't see these clothes, well, you're not really important or smart or whatever. And he ends up parading around in his underwear before all of his subjects, and all the people go, whoa, nice duds, king. Except for some little king who says, how come he's got no clothes on? The Lord wants us to be real. He can see when we are clothing ourselves with our own righteousness and our own actions. And David, the one who is guilty of the two sins that there were no offerings in the Old Testament law for, adultery and murder, guilty of both of them, he could say before God, I've walked in my integrity before you. I've walked in my integrity. I've been real. When Nathan came and busted me, I confessed. I acknowledged my sin. Psalm 51, he says, my sin is ever before you. I've walked in my integrity. But he couples that with, and I've trusted in the Lord. I've walked in my integrity, and I've trusted in the Lord. Because if all you do is trust in your integrity, that's a dangerous place to be. Because you've also got to be trusting in the Lord. If you're just walking in your own integrity, you're saying, hey, I'm being real, Lord. I'm being real. I'm being honest how sinful I am, and I'm going to continue being that sinful and enjoying every minute of it. No, that's not the idea. The idea is to be real before God, and at the same time, trusting in Him. Another interesting word here, I've trusted in the Lord. The word there for trust comes from finding refuge in. Now, there's a different word that is used in speaking about running to find refuge. Like running into the fort with the Indians behind you, shooting arrows, running into the fortress while the knights are chasing you down, running into the place of safety. That's not what this is. This is in a more casual way. I have found my refuge in here. It's not, this is my fortress. This is my home. This is my home. This is where I have chosen to be and to live and to dwell. I find my refuge in you. I find my place. This is my home. With you, Lord, this is my home. And that's why David can say, vindicate me, Lord. Hey, I am walking openly and honestly before you, Lord. My life is an open book before you. On my end of things, I've opened the book. I know you can see, even if I try and close the book, but I am open before you. And I'm trusting in you. And so then he says, examine me. And he says it three ways. Look at verse 2. He says, examine me, O Lord, and prove me, and try my mind and my heart. Interesting thing here in the word study is the first one, examine me, means to test, as in testing a metal. It's used a lot in metal works and so forth in the Old Testament. Test me, like a metal. Test me. And the second word, prove me, is also used in the metal works and so forth. It's like assay me. You know this word, assay, to, determine what's really there. It looks like gold, but is it gold? It looks like this. It might be something else. The word actually comes from a word that means to smell. To smell, like when you open up that Tupperware that's been in the back of the refrigerator for a while, and you go, I wonder if this is still good. And you don't want to open it full open, because if it's bad, the kitchen's going to smell like that for a while, right? So you just lift it up a little bit. And, oh, yeah, I don't think I need that piece of Tupperware anymore either. What is that really like? To determine what it's really like. Now, I have a degree in chemistry. And what I liked about chemistry was blowing things up, just making reactions happen. Whoa, how cool. My one chemistry teacher had this one experiment that he did, and he made it active during the time of our whole 45-minute class, and it was very distracting because he took a giant beaker, one this big, and he put it, if you remember being in chemistry class, you can put a magnetic stirrer in a beaker, and it's just like a little magnet, and you put it on this, it looks like a hot plate, but there's no heat coming out of there. But underneath, there's a magnet that spins, and what will happen is that little magnet inside is attracted to the magnet on the plate, and it'll stir your stuff for you without you having to, put a spoon in there or anything and stir it up. Okay? So he set this up, and he set this reaction going that caused the color of the liquid in this beaker to change color about every 30 or 45 seconds from two different colors. It was really cool. You're adding a reagent, and it causes something to happen. How cool is that? You've done it with probably litmus paper. You take a litmus, stick it in. Or if you have a pool or a spa, you get this little test kit. And you get a little bit of water and you drip a little bit of the reagent in, and it changes color to tell you what's really in there. What's really in there? You add a reagent to a solution, and what really is happening, and I won't get into all the real deep, dark details because I know I definitely put you to sleep at that point. But basically, you're causing a reaction. There's a reaction that's happening. You put those dots in there, and inside molecules and just going wild, and they're exchanging electrons and grabbing other electrons and sticking together with other molecules, and it changes the nature of what's in there so that you can see, whoa, man, I got to put some chlorine in my spa. God does that to us. God does that to us. He adds a reagent to our life to see what the composition is. But it isn't for him to see. He knows. He doesn't have to do that to be able to tell, gosh, I don't know whether Pastor Kevin's really got this part. I guess I'll take some of this off the shelf and put it in, and let's see what happens. He knows. He wants me to know. He wants me to know. And that's where David is coming from here. Vindicate me, Lord. Vindicate me. I've walked in my integrity. My heart's open before you. I trust in you. Test me. In another place, he says, see if there be any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. He's not saying to the Lord, I'm big and tough and pure. Test me and prove it. He's saying, Lord, my heart is open before you, and I am trusting in you, and I think I'm in a good place. Test me, try me, prove me. Show me where I am.